really focused on a lot of the things that we've done to create the culture that we have at SaaS Alerts. We're going to start to implement a lot of those same policies at Kaseya.
That's awesome, Jim. Good.
Hooray! I want to make sure I get it right.
What's that?
A double thumbs up, and there we go.
There we go. Yeah. Jim, is it true Liron rented out Hakkasan for everybody that, at the MGM and,
Andrew, what is Hakkasan? And yes, it is true.
Yeah. So Hakkasan is one of these bars, you know how they have those crazy, like you have to rent like a table, Liron, and, of 10
bottles, bottle service.
Then like, I don't know, like 2,500 minimum, and you get
Andrew, you're describing my average Tuesday night right now.
Oh, okay. This is going to be perfect for you.
Yeah.
I've never actually been to Vegas. It'll be my first time.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Well, I hope we get to see you there, Liron.
I'll be around.
I'm thrilled I'm going to meet Liron. This is big news. I want, selfies and all sorts of stuff with you.
By the way, Andrew, I didn't know Pat had been with Chip for like a decade in other businesses. So it's a long time.
We go way back. It's scary.
Me too, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Independence IT.
Pat actually worked for me at Independence IT, not Chip.
Oh, this is getting territorial.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, I hired Jim, so
yeah. It's true.
But not for Jim, never would have known Pat.
And I knew Jim, let me trump all you. I knew Jim back in the early days of Thrive before Staples bought him.
Before Staples bought him.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's going way back.
That's going way back.
OG machine.
All right. Should we get this nonsense on the road, Jim?
Steven, no one is leaving.
Okay, good. Sounded a little too sentimental for a minute.
No, I don't know if you missed it, but I was promoted to chief product
late, sorry.
I was promoted to chief product officer this week at Kaseya, so we're just kind of
awesome. Congratulations. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Because you're number 35 here, Steve, you get a free trip courtesy of Jim to Kaseya Connect, and stay in his luxury suite.
Super.
Is that supposed to be a prize?
Yeah, one of those Trump national jackets would be cool. That looked awesome. That's one of those.
They're quite comfy, actually. Good for golf.
Sharp.
All right. Well, welcome everybody, and again, Jim, congratulations. Well deserved. So let's kick it off with wins of the week. Jim, why don't we start with you? What, as new chief CPO, like give us a little bit of the remit, and did you have any good calls this week also?
A lot of calls, I can tell you, to the point where I will say I have a hard stop at 1:30 today, but I wanted to make sure I at least caught a little bit of this. A lot of the response has been overwhelmingly positive, internally and externally, which I thoroughly appreciate. I think people understand that I am one of you. I started my journey with Kaseya 20 years ago. I'm going to talk about this during the keynote at Connect, but for those that are not going to be there, I started my journey with Kaseya 20 years ago as a customer. And that is the lens in which I will look at every decision we make on the product side of Kaseya going forward.
Jim, it was the True Profit Group were some of the earliest adopters, the peer group, right, that you were in, and
yeah. I mean, TPG, that was going way back. I mean, that's Thrive was part of TPG 2004, 2005. So we adopted Kaseya in the spring of 2005. And so it's exactly 20 years. And we were looking for a remote monitoring tool, and Kaseya was one of the first ones out there. So and I've been at Connect as a customer, as an employee, and as a sponsor. So I've sat in everyone that's going to be in the audience, I've sat in your seat before. And I believe that we have an opportunity at Kaseya to leverage the things that we've done right, but also get right the things we've done wrong. And when you can combine those two, I think we have an unbelievable opportunity. We've got 42 products at Kaseya. I knew how many we had before I took this job, but now I'm getting, in-depth information on all of them. And I can tell you that, the future for all of us is in AI, and that there's no bigger opportunity than Kaseya has in terms of the data sources we can bring to the table and correlate to really superpower AI. Because at the end of the day, the better data sources you have, the more AI can do for you. And I'm going to talk about that at Connect at the keynote. But it's certainly exciting. We're going to really focus on two things: innovation and transparency. And by the way, innovation isn't just product. It's also business practices and business policy. So I'm hopeful that this win for me personally this week will translate into much, much bigger wins for our community going forward.
Great stuff, Jim. Any partner wins that you had calls about, big saves or anything? And a lot of trial times you're on big calls. So before we go to the audience.
Yeah, not necessarily. I know there is. I already know everything there is to know about SaaS alerts. So I'm on a lot more calls about other things these days.
Okay.
So unfortunately, I can't really contribute there much.
Got it. Okay. Well, how about you guys? Any interesting wins and alerts on your side? I know there's something, because it always takes somebody to say something, and then we get
All
like.
right, so
All
we
right.
had another alert on a Saturday morning during Passover. Somebody from Germany was getting into a site in Pennsylvania. The SaaS alerts, couple rules triggered, and by the time I kind of got onto it, they had set up a rule to delete all the emails that were coming in, and they were setting up shop for the big send. So thankfully, we got it in time to stop the guy from getting in there. But a couple of rules triggered, and they were taking advantage of the Passover holiday and the long weekend. So I'm glad SaaS alerts. I'm glad they nailed it. And this is a health. It was a medical equipment company. So the office account that they were using is the one that all their patients send information in when they want, medical equipment, and vendors send mail through there. In other words, if the guy got in there, it would have been pretty bad. So, and they had MFA. So somebody clicked a phishing email somewhere, trying to help them, discover where it is. They just started ramped up on the training part of the tool set that we offer. So they're going through that initial training part. So they haven't boned up on phishing emails yet. But that was a good win. It set a good tone with the customer too.
I was going to say, Rich, how did this translate? So how did you talk to the customer about it?
So I had to send an email to the principal person, and I had to use their after hours contact center to get a text message to her to say that I was chasing this sign in from Berlin. And I had to ask her if she knew of anybody, any contractors they were working with in Berlin, just to make sure it wasn't, anything. She said no, and then I just basically sent emails saying I was locking the account, and then when she could catch up with me later, she saw everything I did. So Saturday morning by it was like just around 8 a.m. when it started happening, and within 2 hours I was verifying everything and then locked the account down. So it must have been a person doing it, because if it was a bot doing it, they would have set up the whole email rule block and transfer in minutes instead of whatever this person was doing. We did block it, and I noticed throughout the next 2 days they did try to get in several times. Of course, we had revoked all the sessions, so they couldn't get in.
Nice. Do you
And
have
the customer,
a respond rule set up to automatically block when those rules are triggered, or do you just have it set up?
well, it was a rule that was marked by Ben as be careful with it because it can have false positives. So I just had it as an alert. Now I've added to it the alert to my phone, and to get a more faster reply. I may add the alert to shut down the account, but I didn't want to do it just yet. So
Got it. Are you using the app?
yeah, I have the app on my phone, and I have a couple of accounts set up to trigger my phone to do a shutdown if I have to. But 2 times that it happened so far, it was false positives. It was no reason for me to shut down the account. So, but the rule that triggered it was the 1 second here. I'll just go back. It was the files shared on a non-Microsoft ASN. So it hit that one. It hit the outside authorized location, non-file events, which is another one. And then we also got a risky report. So all those fired to help, home in on it. Plus the rule change. So we have a flag for any email rule changes. We got all of them came as a cluster.
Nice.
So Rich, did you take the step of revoking the access tokens?
We did all the revokes. Yeah, I did all the revokes, and I reset the password. So I did all that in one shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever somebody gets in and the account has MFA, I know that they stole the token. So I always revoke all the tokens anyway. And in this case, it went as far as changing the password because I didn't know what else the guy had gathered. So. But
yeah,
they could not get back in. They tried 6 more times afterwards, and they couldn't get back in. So it was good. It was a good catch.
Nice. So Rich actually brings up a point that we haven't spoken about in a while, which is the mobile app. Are there any folks here not using the mobile app? Feel free to.
Well, I
I'm
just
one.
want to say I appreciate the mobile app. I depend on it. So so whoever designed the mobile app did an excellent job.
take a
So
bow,
I think
Adam.
it's a great.
Yeah.
Take a bow, man. It's a great tool.
Fastler's mobile app?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not.
That's
I
why I
love
brought
that
it up.
you love it. I wish I spent more time every week iterating on that. But the managed side of the house and all the other projects get my my primary attention. I'd love to put more in that thing. But thanks for the kind comments.
Well, I love the fact that if necessary, I could shut down an account. I can say yay or nay at the moment, which is very helpful, for these dangerous situations. And if I'm on the road somewhere, I just need to have that control. There's nobody in the office can be available sometimes in odd hours to deal with it. So I have to deal with it myself. So I'm glad for it.
So that's why I asked the question, Rich, because hopefully everyone heard what Rich just said. And if you're not leveraging it, if you haven't used it, I certainly encourage you to do so.
I must be on version 0.-1.2 because I have not seen it.
Okay. Well, It's probably less of a priority for folks on managed. That being said, I would still have it, right?
And Enrique, you have to get off the flip phone and actually go to an Android, an Apple device.
What are you talking about? I got my little Nokia pad. So
Yeah,
quick
that was
comment
harsh.
on Wins, which
Yeah,
was not.
I don't know if it's in the Apple Store. Maybe it is in the App Store, but I know we got started on a beta setup and they sent us links to download it. I think in the beginning, that's how we did it.
Yeah, it's in the app stores.
All right, good. Yeah.
Tina, that's your homework assignment. You gotta check out the app.
I just looked and I had it installed. I've just not signed in, but I never leave my desk, so I don't need it on my phone. I sleep here.
Hey, what are you talking about? You're going to Vegas in a couple weeks.
Shit, right. I'm loading, I'm
She's
updating.
taking her desk.
I'm gonna get signed in today.
Okay.
So can I ask a question as a newbie?
Yes,
Of course.
please.
Yeah, my name is Dave. I'm from Pennsylvania. Yeah, so I'm brand new to SaaS. I'm learning. I'm watching all these videos and everything else. So in our organization, we have multiple, clients who are using it. So with the mobile app, how easy is it to switch between clients?
Let's let Rich answer the question first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all the clients, it's a really well-designed app. All the SaaS tickets are lined up and anything that has to do with triggers is at the top of the list. And it gives you a to-do list, which it knows that something needs to be acted on, so it's letting you know right up front. And basically, it has a very nice tool for analyzing all the events that come in based on time and based on filters that you can apply. If you want to focus on one client, you just change the filter to go to a certain client and then add more filters to narrow down to what you want. But it does present a lot of stuff, just in a couple of clicks, you can see a lot of events. So.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. I mean, that's a pretty good summary. And again, I think Adam's probably blushing right now.
No, he's not.
Based on all the work that they put in. One of the I always said, when we released it, it's like putting a sock in your pocket, right? Because you now have access on the road to, the serious things that are going to be happening in your customer's environment.
We had not so much a win, but a discovery kind of when we got an alert last week. I believe it was last week of a customer successfully logging in from Germany, but failing MFA. So that immediately took me to go and sip and hit a little research button that has, and it pulls a whole bunch of information and logs, and it pulls the rules as well that were created. So needless to say, we acted as if they were compromised. So they changed their password, re-registered MFA, but within the rules, we found a rule called F. And so I'm going through the rules and talking to the customer. She's like, I don't even know what rules are. And I'm like, well, there are these things. The IT guy set them up for me. So I reached out to the IT guy. He said, no, she sets them up. So any which way, there's a rule called F, moving stuff to the RSS folder. Stuff like SharePoint alerts and different things. And I'm like, okay, so now I'm gonna have to research when this happened. Because obviously this time they did not successfully get in because of lack of MFA. They just got the password. But this F rule now has me thinking, when did it happen? Which I haven't been able to find date-wise when it was created. But so interesting discovery.
Well, I'm not going to comment on the F rule, Jim, but it's not. All right.
Thanks, Enrique.
Thanks. Other things or fun stuff out there.
Enrique, next time that happens, Amanda just built a really great new report that'll show you all of the kinds of rules, email forwarding rules that exist in a tenant. Super handy when you're prospecting as well.
Thanks for letting me know. Let me pull it.
And yeah, and Ben just shared, you can get through, search through the log data also.
I ran into a peculiar problem where a customer had on one day events had eclipsed 30,000 events. It turned out to be 57,000 by the time I was like, how could you possibly have 57,000 events in one day? They were moving files, like massive amounts of files. So it was all the file moves that were SharePoint file moves for one day.
Glad it was them doing it, Rich.
Yes, thankfully.
Yeah. But at least you knew about it, right? Which is the big thing.
Well, we did know about it. This was a recap of the quarterly events. So at the time that it was happening, I did chase a download complaint that was happening and found out that they were moving files, so I left it alone.
Okay. All right. Any others? Ben, you got anything fun and exciting you want to share?
Not really. This week's been kind of crazy for me.
Okay. All right. Will you be at Connect?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons it's been crazy.
All right. All right. So, oh, wait, I gotta hold off. It's Adam's turn. Speaking of,
I'm actually going to be.
oh, you're gonna do it?
Mhm.
Okay.
I'm going to share my screen. All right. Hopefully you're not looking at my tax returns.
That's my job, Leron.
Yeah, or Andrew's bank statements.
Yeah, I'm thankful my accountant handled the extension without me telling him. Wonderful. So let's begin. First off, does anyone see something new on the screen here? This is our dev environment before we jump in here.
It's there, folks.
I see something.
I have to defer to Ben.
No,
It's endless.
No Sazzler's team
Yeah,
members
come
are
on.
allowed to respond to
Power
that question.
filters.
I was gonna say,
All right.
does it say powered by AI somewhere, Leron?
No, not yet.
All right.
We're to Jim's point, we are starting those conversations right now.
Powered by Cooper.
You know, Andrew,
So-
to the extent that Leron and I are both inorganic beings, it kind of is powered by AI.
Okay.
That's true. We'll be speaking about this guy over here next week. So Andrew, when you email me asking for the agenda next week, consider this to be the answer.
Oh, the
It's
indicators of compromise is there.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
exciting.
We're very, very excited about this feature, but let's not take away from what I want to talk about today, which should be short and sweet. So what we're looking at here is under settings, we now have power filters. And I want to give credit to Adam. This is his brainchild. And whenever we build new features, he's one of the first people I go to. And I ask him to take off his product hat and put on his MSP hat that he's worn for 20 years. And this is one that he's very strongly advocated for. And we have here. And Jim, by the way, we need to pump the brakes on all this Adam talk. He's going to come to us asking for a raise if we continue doing this. So we need to slow that down a bit.
Okay. Sounds good.
So Adam and I were working on this an hour ago. We're still working on it. It's probably going to be in production in a week or two, I think, before Connect, just because we continue to iterate on this. It's definitely not perfect yet. It's an ongoing work in progress. And this is phase 2 of 3, right? So phase 1 was the ability to do this at the organization level. And now we're introducing the ability to do a power filter, as we are renaming whitelisting to power filters at the partner level. So you see here, I have Ukraine and Andorra at the partner level, and I have Microsoft Ireland, Dublin. And what I can do, right, now that I have this set up, can you guys see my screen? You should see a modal.
We do.
We do.
Okay. So to save time, right, I went into an organization, and you can see when I'm looking at the organization's power filters, I have Andorra and Ukraine here being inherited, right? So if you're an MSP, you have 100 customers, you have United States as the power filter. Whenever you created the new organization, you previously had to go in and add United States 100 times. With this, you can now inherit the filters from the partner level, And you can also add your own. And notice that we're also inheriting the Microsoft Dublin, Ireland data center down here as well. However, we found that about 10% of the average MSP's customers may be out of country, for instance. So in this case, you can simply pick do not inherit, and now those basically get taken out. So we're hoping that this feature is going to save you time and just make things really convenient, more convenient, quality of life feature here.
Leron, do you want to talk about the default settings?
No, but you can, since it's your baby.
All right, so we have elected to set the inherit switch on all organizations to on as default. And then also on the user side of the house or the account side of the house, that inherited switch will also be on by default. So in the event that you have a situation where a specific user or an account needs to be different, you'll need to go in and flip that off. Or an organization that needs to be different, you'll flip that off. But when this releases to production, it will all be on because we felt that that was probably more likely to be the setting that you guys would want versus to have to go in and toggle it all on manually one by one.
Just to be clear though, Adam, when this is released to production, it won't change any existing settings for any orgs that
Correct.
are already deployed.
Yeah.
It only applies to newly deployed orgs.
So the way that we do whitelisting today between the organization and the account is the equivalent of the setting being on between organization and account. Since global didn't exist anyway, and there will be no global preset rules, it's on, but there's nothing to flow down. So the short answer to your question is nothing should change. The other item that smart people already thinking ahead here might be thinking to themselves is, what if I have United States on all my orgs and I go and I add United States to global, can it have two? And the answer is yes, we will support the fact that we're not going to make you go into all your orgs and pull out the settings that you had. We'll just allow it to double up United States on the two different layers and without any problems.
Do we have any questions?
Just congrats. It's awesome, guys.
All right, Andrew, back to you.
All right. Okay, Chip, can I bring you in?
I'm always here for you, Andrew.
All right, awesome. This
Except,
is
except when I'm not.
This is one let me zoom in here. This is one you shot over to me that I was I'll let everybody read it, but take a look at the actual Google site, because this is where I responded to Chip right away. I'm like, that's a real Google site, Chip.
Sure looks like it.
And it's to the degree, very much to the degree, Chip, what we've been talking about, the analogistic of the QuickBooks, meaning using real infrastructure by threat actors. In this case, what's very different is Google doesn't care, so to speak, right? I mean,
Yep.
Yeah, this is I'm sitting here scratching my head, Jim. Is it a revenue thing? I'm sorry, Chip, is it a revenue thing that they're just like, we don't care?
Well, I don't know if it's a revenue thing or a not wanting to deprecate an old product. Maybe we should take a step back and unpack this a little bit, Andrew.
Sure.
So first question I have is there anyone, on the call that has seen, this same posting, and not you, Ben, since I sent it to you, so you can remain silent. So it looks like not. So what happened, by the way, I picked this up. I did not discover this. I'm not claiming any original genius here. This is a post I picked up off of Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. And it really jumped out at me because the guy that sent this post was very, very detailed in deconstructing what went on. And what happened is he gets this email that looks like it's from Google, telling him that there's a legal action pending, that they've been asked by law enforcement to have access to his data. So you know where this is going to go, right? They're going to ask him to log in and approve that. And it gives him this whole, string of information. It looks like it comes from Google. The email address itself, and maybe Andrew, you have to zoom in all the way to the top so people can see that,
Yeah.
comes from google.com. And at the very bottom of the email itself, there's a reference specifically um, to Google's legal department. So it looks very, very legitimate. And the call to action is to log in, which is going to have an attacker in the middle involved intercepting credentials and doing a token harvest. The guy who picked this up, thought it was kind of suspicious, so he kept digging into it, and he had to dig into the email headers, which, I'm sure we all know how to do, but are certainly most of the employees of our customers don't know how to do, to find out that even though this appeared to have been sent from a google.com account, it was sent from a me.something domain. And the flaw here is that Google still has a product called Sites. I don't know if anybody remembers it, but it was something that would allow Andrew Morgan to go set up a web server, Andrew Morgan at Google, andrewmorgan.google.sites.com or sites.google.com. So it still looks like it's Google. This really jumped out because, this is obviously a campaign that's underway. This is not a one-off and very, very dangerous, something that you definitely have to take back to any customers that are using Google Workspace in particular. I don't see this as much of a danger for folks who are using 365, though you could have your personal Google account also compromised using the same attack. So, that's kind of the long and the short of it. Andrew, you might want to share the link if
Sure.
you have it, just so people can go and read the whole thread. The actual comments in the thread are great too. But it's a new one. It's novel. It's taking advantage of existing products inside Google that when the poster of this reached out to Google and said, "Hey, this is a real threat," Google basically responded with, we don't think it is. If you use MFA, you have protection," which isn't true, as we all know, because even with MFA, you can get token harvested. Um, and everything is working as we expect, and we have no plans to deprecate Sites, even though it's a very, very old product in Google Stack, and it's just going to carry on. So it's definitely a vulnerability in the sense that it leverages multiple different parts of Google's infrastructure in order to construct a very sophisticated phishing campaign that can be uncovered by, a thoughtful individual who gets suspicious and drills down into the email headers. But it's going to get past your average person very, very easily.
Hey, Chip, I think you can do the same thing with a SharePoint site where you make a SharePoint site public and redirect people to the SharePoint site as well.
Quite possible.
And
I've seen that. I've seen that type of a SharePoint a SharePoint exploit before. And actually I was able to contact who hosted the organization, was a police department out west somewhere, and told them, "Hey guys, your chief's account is compromised. You need to take care of it."
In Chip, we've seen similar stuff. We talked about like Microsoft Sway, the newsletter, the news, what do they call it? It's an app for Microsoft similar that creates newsletters, I think it is, but it's a web-based, platform where you can do that. And it again, it shows the ingenuity of threat actors using legitimate infrastructure. And I think, this is here to certainly in probably in the not too, how I should say this. This is here to stay for a while.
I mean, clearly this one in particular is because Google has stated, outright and flatly that they're not going to change anything. Look, I find it an interesting decision on their part. I mean, none of us with our brands would, unless we have a product like Zendesk or something that's specifically built for it, would allow people to use our top level domain and hang stuff in front of it. We just wouldn't do that. Like it dilutes the purpose of your brand. It introduces all kinds of potential security problems. Why would you go about it? But Google certainly is choosing to continue down that path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. You mean so like a subdomain type scenario, you mean, Chip?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, interesting. Any comments, thoughts on this, guys? Have you seen any of these? Obviously, David, you said you saw one in SharePoint. Anybody seen other legitimate infrastructure type attacks?
How
Well,
come it's not picked up by Google's filtering systems?
Because Google believes that this works correctly. So, the email that he gets here passes the DKIM test because it's coming from a legitimate google.com domain. Does that make sense, Rich? So that the attacker sets up richkennedy.google.com and Google lets him do that. So it
Yeah,
passes DKIM as if it's coming from Google.
yeah, we just went through the whole process of the QuickBooks notifications thing, same thing.
Yeah.
Valid email address.
Yep. That's one Andrew
Thanks.
alluded to earlier.
Yep.
So definitely
Yeah.
worth giving it a read. Andrew posted the link in there. I would dig in and make sure that any Google Workspace customers are aware of this. And is it just good general training? This kind of stuff for me should go in every MSP's monthly newsletter to their customers around security threats.
Yeah. It's what we've been talking about, Chip, like, the set and forget. We talked about this on our cyber call. That set and forget security awareness training, phishing simulation, although important, is lagging. It's a lagger. And it's probably a lagger by a minimum of 12 months when, based on the security awareness training I take, and it's good. I'm not faulting it. It's just, it lags.
It's reactionary in the end.
Yeah, very true. Okay. Well, yes, Andy.
I just wanted to say, if you're talking about topics next, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal yesterday about major banks aren't comfortable submitting their numbers to the comptroller of currency for the United States because they were hacked and they haven't disclosed what was hacked.
Oh, I didn't see that one, Andy.
That was front page of the Wall Street Journal yesterday.
Either that or their earnings are down, one or the other, Andy. All right. If you guys do you remember, we talked about Clio and this goes in line with some of the other file shares that well gosh, Chip, what was the major one before this? I'm drawing a blank. Clio was this past year, but we had the I'm drawing a blank on it that impacted thousands.
You mean file share service, like third-party file share service?
Yeah, there was a big one about
it was.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank. But anyway, the point being is that, there's always aftermath, and this just came out. Today I saw this article that, hey, by the way, if you have rented from Hertz, more than likely your data is out there. So just keep an eye on that. If you start getting stuff from Hertz, yeah, that good point, Sam. I should have brought that up. Thank goodness, for those of you that I'll just quick topic switch, that the CVE and the NVD, the National Vulnerability Database, it was funding off, but thank goodness funding back on. That is the major clearinghouse for all CVEs globally. So yeah, that was a big like sigh of relief, I think, for everybody, and only I don't know, Chip, probably a $4 billion software market that would have been impacted by that. Qualys, Tenable, we could go on and on and on of all the big players there.
It certainly would have created a pretty big disruption. I mean, the only snarky thing I'll say about it is I suppose it would have created a hell of an opportunity for somebody completely private to jump in the game that
Oh,
wasn't funded, but not something. Fortunately, whoever allowed that funding to expire, realized the error of their ways, not even inside of 24 hours. So that got fixed quickly. We had
yeah.
a discussion about it internal with our DevOps team, and brought it up, and I said, "Don't worry, this will get fixed quick," and it did.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you were right. You're absolutely right. A few other things I'd like to share. I did post this out on LinkedIn. I will put this URL in chat if you give me 1 minute here. I thought this was an interesting one to be aware of. It's the use, again, no surprise that we will see, based on time of year, certain phishing campaigns, right? IRS, tax preparation, and your taxes are due. It's going to be a big one. What's interesting about this one is the way in which the threat actor went about it. They, first of all, as always, start with credentials. There's obviously an entire ecosystem, as we know, for that. What's interesting about this one, Chip, is they used AI for audio, video type ruses, and have gotten people to fall for it. So it's, hey, I'm your accountant. I sound like your accountant. And even to the degree of mimicking video of accountants and or IRS practitioners. So some of the highlights of it, texts and typo squatting for this, and we've certainly seen this rise in mobile type attacks, as with the malicious links, and as whether it's Chip, we send back the joking around with your tolls are due, but obviously this is now preying on IRS, and their taxes are due. Now, speaking of which, we just talked about subdomains. They are using typo squatting and SEO poisoning to intercept certain searches in search engines as well. So this is a very well crafted attack that I just wanted you all to be aware of. Any thoughts on that one, Chip, or anybody?
I mean, I think we've seen it in this is not a 2025 breaking news in the sense that it hasn't happened before. What's new about it is how AI is coming into play. Andrew, I forgot to send you a link. I wanted to send you of a new voice generation tool that's aimed at English speakers who have very thick accents, and it will autocorrect their accent with their tone of voice in real time, even in a call like this. I got to send that to you to see what it does. Rich asked if this was, actually using the voice of a specific accountant. I think that's suggested in the article, Rich,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't even need to be that if you think about it. I mean, many people are working with small firms, or they're working with an H&R Block or Jackson Hewitt, and they could get a call from anybody that is
Oh,
an
sure.
assistant,
Right.
data collection person that's representing that. With number spoofing, it can look legit. It could be looking like a text. So it doesn't even need to be exactly that person. But I imagine for a large enough accounting firm, if they really wanted to target a specific partner's voice, there'd be ways of picking it up and doing it.
Well,
So if someone went to the Sassy Call collection of videos and
100%.
sampled everybody's voices, like
Yep.
Chip and Jim and everybody, I mean, they could build a reasonable, voice message sounding as you, right? To try to get some action somehow.
Yep, absolutely.
Percent.
You guys
100%.
using any sort of anonymizers on your voices to try to make them not obvious?
It's a little late for us, even if that technology was available. There are analysis tools that'll tell you if a voice has been AI modulated, but I don't think there's anything in place that could take us back to all the stuff that's been recorded over the last 3 or 4 years here of this call and other calls. I mean, Andrew's got so much content out there; he's way gone. Ben's made more videos than Justin Bieber, so he's in big trouble.
Yeah. Chip, this was we've talked about the Geek Squad ones, but again, just another variation of it. It's whether it's your orders processed, whatever. But again, just I wanted to show this more so for the proliferation of voice phishing, right? This is clearly intended to get you on the phone with them. And so you're just seeing this shift from threat actors being more, let's do it over keyboard and URLs, to let's get people on the phone and socially engineer them that way. So again, things to keep in mind for your customers.
Back to the future, Andrew.
What's old is new again, Chip.
Old is new. That's where social engineering started. Dial-up phones.
Exactly. That's exactly correct. And then another thing, I'll put this URL in. I came across a really interesting article or report. Again, let me get that, put it in for you, on the use of AI, and bear with me. So the report is by this company called Harmonic Security. What the reason they were able to gather this data set, which is pretty large, I'll jump ahead and then come back. Pretty large data set. Obviously, what they do is they're a security product that looks for shadow AI within the enterprise. And the reason you might say, well, this is enterprise data you're showing us, Andrew. Well, yes, it is. But Chip, as you know, we 3 decades of being in this together, things in our industry always start at enterprise, and we can relate them down to how they'll proliferate or are proliferating in SMB. It's just that you typically see the innovation and the PE money go into first chasing the big corporations, right? If you're this company called Harmonic Security, right? Hey, I got this great application. We're going to go after the Fortune 500. We're going to get a lot of money and get bought. So little background on why I thought it was still relevant. What was interesting in the key findings of the report, let me see if I can make this a little bigger for everybody. Bear with me. Okay, so realize this is enterprise, but divide it, by 5, right? Divide it by 6 even. In an enterprise, the average number of AI apps they found were a whopping 250, and almost half of them unmanaged. What we're going to talk about is the amount of sensitive data that is getting into these engines by employees, and I would gather, Chip, it's not nefarious. I don't think it's probably these people intending to hurt their company. When you see what I'm going to show you next, these edicts by executives that AI will power the futures of our companies, etc. I'll show you why I think we're seeing this. Go ahead, Andy.
I was going to ask, is there any way that SaaS alerts and CAPs or conditional access policies could help us with cloud accounts manage these aspects of AI and how it is showing up as, quote, shadow AI? I'm just trying to find a way to get a hook around this. And I don't know how to do
SaaS alerts
that.
would already show you, Andy, if a business account is used to log into one of these products, assuming it's browser based, which most are. Um, so you would already pick that up in OAuth logins, and if it is something that's installing an app either in Google Workspace or in Microsoft Entra, we would pick that up as
So
well.
Chip, what I'm really drilling down in here is if I had a category that said alert me when an AI related, or you build a list, not
Yep.
knowing which one I have to be looking for is part of the problem.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay,
And
Well, the reason, I'm sorry, I'm flipping. The reason, Chip, you said something really important. Business account. 70%, when you read the article, guess what 70% of the emails are?
Gmail.
yeah.
Yes.
And so this comes back to the other piece around browser being able to begin to track activities in the browser, be it a plugin or otherwise. We don't have that visibility. How do we even contain this? Because it could be one browser one thing and another browser another.
It's
Absolutely.
yeah, no, your statement's rhetorical, Andy. This is right now the big problem. And so if you think about, this is the reason I wanted to show this is the mindset, right? Let's just say the Fortune 500, again, for a conversation. It's like, hey, their job, these executives were interviewed, Chip, and it's like they acknowledge that 74% of them could lose their jobs if they didn't figure out a way to use AI in their business, drive efficiency, drive deeper outcomes, etc. And the quote from this Shopify executive, I think, really brings it home is that this is a baseline expectation in our company that we will use AI. Now, what's interesting about it is the organizations that have taken a draconian approach to it, people will use it anyway. They'll figure out a way to use it anyway, where they found that, almost 70% are using it anyway. So that doesn't necessarily work either. Now, what's this is, I'm chuckling because it's kind of a little funny in that, they analyzed, what was getting uploaded, right? And, you can see spreadsheets and docs and this. Chip, you can see the number one thing by a landslide is pictures and
image files.
Yeah.
This is so funny, Andrew. Just last week, the guys on my my men's soccer team, somebody discovered image manipulation through one was ChatGPT, and then before I knew it, the text thread that we all are checking in on who's going to the game was filled with one picture after another from 30 years of playing together, turned into a cartoon and an anime and a this and a that, and that's the adoption of AI right now.
So that's one second, Andy, but that's, you sit here and I'm chuckling, but it's what I'm about to show you is the real danger. I'm chuckling on one hand because, Chip, hey, here's this funny cartoon we made of you. Here's this, now you have a beard. Now you have this. Now, whatever. That's the biggest use. Employees pranking each other about how they look. Now, one second. I just wanted to show this last piece because this is the important piece of it. Organizations that are saying, hey, we should use AI, what's interesting is it's going to the high stake business functions, Chip, and look at the disparity of growth. I mean, on the positive, you're seeing, sharing of data come down a little bit, sensitive customer data and things like that. Still big, but the use by the bigger, critical functions within an organization, whether it's code or legal and finance, skyrocketed, both over doubled in terms of their sending in sensitive data. So I'd like your input in this last minute, but to me, it's almost like, well, help me create this, help me with the 10Q, help me with this, because I don't want to spend the normal 84 hours preparing it for the board meeting. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm not surprised, especially on the legal side. I'm a little surprised in the finance side, but all of the models now are outperforming humans on at least initial draft of any legal document under the sun. So even if you're a lawyer working in a corporate environment, especially, and you've got to create a new document, if you're not using AI to do that first draft for you, then you're way behind the curve, the productivity curve. So I suspect that's going to continue to grow. I have a little bit of a harder time on the finance side understanding what people would do, other than, okay, take this spreadsheet full of data and help me build graphs, write up an analysis from our financial statement that summarizes everything. I can see that kind of stuff going on. The thing that disturbed me the most in your previous slide, Andrew, it doesn't apply to either of those. It's the significant jump in the sensitive code side.
Right.
That has always worried me. Leron and I talk about this endlessly, and we have very strict policies in SaaS alerts for how we're using AI to enhance our code, and we are because you have to maintain the productivity curve. But that's worrisome. We'll see what happens. I suspect that's going to continue to grow too.
Yeah. So, well, anyway, appreciate everybody's time today. As always, look forward to seeing you next Thursday, and make it an awesome week, everybody. Take care.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.
Thanks.